Welcome to SDH's College Showcase, where we take you through everything going on here in the Southeast when it comes to the soccer scene. Over the next little bit, we'll take you into the SEC, we'll take you into the ACC, the SoCon, the Sun Belt, and we'll catch up in D2, D3, and the NAIA with our trips into the Peach Belt, the SAA, and with Georgia Gwinnett College as they made their way up to the CAC Classic. So, first and foremost, our stop is in the SEC. And what we do is we will catch up with things on the women's side, looking at the standings right now out of the blocks. In the East, Tennessee's at 5-1-1, overall 9-3-2. South Carolina has one more draw to their credit. They're at 9-3-3, but 4-3 in the East. Vandy 9 wins on the year, but they are 3-2-2 in the East. Georgia 3 wins as well, 3-3-1, 9-5-1 overall. Missouri, the first team below 500 at 2-4-1, 5-7-2 overall. Kentucky and Florida both winless in conference play, both at 0-6. In the West, Alabama spotless with a record of 6-0, 13-1-1 overall. 2 10-win teams in the overall with Arkansas and Mississippi State. Arkansas with 5 wins in the West, Mississippi State at 4-2-1. LSU's at 3-2-2 with 8 wins overall. Ole Miss at 3-4, 9 wins overall. Texas A&M 2-4-1 along with Auburn. Texas A&M has 2 more wins to their credit, 8 in the overall. And so, with being down early, Texas A&M comes from behind to get a 3-1 win in College Station. After the match, the voice of Texas A&M women's soccer, David Ellis, caught up with Miley Hayes, courtesy of our friends at the SEC Network Plus.
Well, in College Station tonight, you hear the war hymn in the background. The Aggies, with 3 second-half goals, have defeated the Auburn Tigers by the score of 3-1. Joining us tonight, Miley Hayes, who scored 2 of those goals for Texas A&M. Miley, getting down 1 in the first half, coming back with 3 goals. What a night, and you've got to be particularly proud of your performance as well as your teammates.
Yeah, of course. I mean, after the Ole Miss game, I think we were all really fired up, getting that last-minute game winner, and so I think even though we started off rough in the first half, we have that belief in us that we can still accomplish anything, no matter how much time is left, no matter what the scoreline looks like, but we have the belief in ourselves and in each other, and I think it's really good to have that at this portion in the season.
So, Miley, you're up against a really, really stingy Auburn defense. They had not given up more than 1 goal in any game of the 14 games leading into tonight. You have 2 quality center backs in Moore and Craven. What was your mindset? Because you were an absolute pest. You were relentless working against those 2 center backs. What was your mentality taking on that stingy Auburn defense, and in particular those 2 center backs for Auburn?
Yeah, I mean, I try to not focus on the opposition. I just try to focus on myself and what I can do to help my teammates and what I can provide for them in the final third, especially, whether that be on offense or defense. So I think really just going into any game with the mindset of how am I going to do my job, not really focusing on them. Obviously, I'll take advantage of the opposition's weaknesses, but it's really just focusing on myself and what my teammates can do around me to help me.
Well, congratulations, Miley, to you and your teammates tonight. A great victory over the Auburn Tigers. 2 goals on the night for Miley Hayes, the reigning SEC Offensive Player of the Week, and I don't think you did much to hurt your chances for next week. Well, she's Miley Hayes. I'm David Ellis. Alongside is Jeff Given from Ellis Field on the campus of Texas A&M University. That's our final tonight, Texas A&M 3 and the Auburn Tigers 1.
So looking at your schedule in the SEC, on your Sunday, looking at, say, the next 7 days or so, noon Eastern time, Arkansas is at Alabama, battle of number 7 at number 2. That one will be on SEC Network, noon Eastern, 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPNU. It is Florida and Kentucky. Also on the board, when you look at the next little while here, as folks get adjusted, try to jostle into positions for the postseason and trying to work their way into conference tournaments and get at large bids and all of those kinds of things. Thursday's the big day in the league, 6 o'clock Eastern, Vandy in Florida. All these games on SEC Network Plus. Texas A&M's at number 24, South Carolina. Ole Miss is at Georgia. On big SEC Network, it is Kentucky and Missouri at 7:30 Eastern on SEC Network Plus. Number 2, Alabama at Mississippi State. LSU's at number 7, Arkansas. And Tennessee is at Auburn. That gets you into the weekend. And as you look at things for the weekend starting on the 22nd, you're clean. So Thursday is your big day when it comes to life in the SEC. When you go into the ACC and look at men's soccer and women's soccer, once again looking at the headlines, this week in men's soccer, you have a big ACC Atlantic Division matchup with the sixth weekend of play. It's two teams atop the Atlantic, Syracuse, Louisville, number 5 and number 11. They squared off Friday night in Louisville. Syracuse led the division going in with 12 points, Louisville second with 10. That was followed by a doubleheader with Notre Dame at number 3, Duke, North Carolina, and NC State at 8. You got a lot of teams ranked in the ACC. Saturday's action, BC at number 10, Wake Forest at 7 o'clock on ACC Network Extra. Virginia's at number 18, Clemson. That one is also at 7 o'clock. Monday night, number 25, Duquesne is at Pitt. And that one is at 7 on ACC and X. Tuesday's your big day for action, followed by Friday and some on Saturday, but on the 18th. Strap in, here we go. ACC Network Extra has Princeton, Virginia Tech at 6, Hofstra, Virginia at 7, William & Mary and NC State at 7, Bucknell, Syracuse at 7, GW and Duke, Wofford and Wake. North Carolina and Elon is on Flow Sports at 7 o'clock. ETSU and Louisville's on at 7 o'clock on ACC Network Extra. Notre Dame and UIC's at 7:30 on ESPN+. Friday the 21st, North Carolina BC on ACC Network at 6. That is the front end of the doubleheader with Pitt and Duke at 8. ACC Network Extra has Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Louisville. That one is on at 7 o'clock. Looking at your standings in men's soccer in the Atlantic Division, Syracuse, 15 points at 5-1, 11 wins in the overall. Louisville is at 10 points at 3 wins, 3-2-1, 8 wins overall. Wake Forest is at 9 points, 10 wins in the overall with a record of 3-2. Clemson, 7 points, 2-2-1. BC and NC State. BC's at 1-3-1, NC State's at 1-4-1, 3 wins and 4 wins, respectively, for them. In the Coastal, Duke is at 14 points, 4 wins, 2 draws. Virginia and Pitt both have 3 wins on the season. Virginia's played 1 less match. They both have 10 points. Virginia's at 3-1-1. Pitt is at 3-2-1. North Carolina's at 8 points at 2-2-2. Notre Dame's at 2-4. Virginia Tech is at 0-6. Looking at action on the women's side, getting you ready for the week that was and the week that will be. Your Player of the Week honors for the past week, for Week 8. Graduate forward Olivia Wingate from Notre Dame, selected as ACC's Women's Soccer Offensive Player of the Week. Irish graduate keeper Mackenzie Wood, Florida State junior goalkeeper Christina Roque earned ACC Co-Defensive Player of the Week honors. Wingate scored twice and had 2 assists in the win over NC State and nationally ranked FSU. Wood totaled 6 saves and a pair of clean sheets with a 5-save effort against Notre Dame in their 4-0 win over Florida State Sunday. Roque posted 10 saves in FSU's 1-0 road win over nationally ranked Virginia on last Thursday. So take a look at the schedule and lay things out for you in women's soccer. And it is a couple of matchups on Saturday night, Notre Dame and Louisville. Notre Dame's at 7 o'clock. Pitt and BC is on ACC NX at 7, as is Miami and NC State. Working your way through the week, and you go into activity. The big day of the week is Thursday. No real surprise there. 6 o'clock Eastern, Syracuse and Pitt on ACC Network as a part of their doubleheader. NC and North Carolina and Florida State is at 8 o'clock for your backside of the doubleheader. BC is on ACC Network Extra at Miami at 6. Louisville and NC State is on at 7 on ACC and X, as well as Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, Wake, Virginia, Duke, and Clemson. And that gets you through the week that will be. On to life in the Southern Conference. And our friends in the SoCon, we go from the men's side. One of the big matchups were the Spartans of UNCG going up against Clemson. Here's what happened with a little musical accompaniment, courtesy of our friends at North Carolina Greensboro and ACC Network Plus.
Conley. Wide in. Deflected. Higundo connects, and the Spartans are on the board.
substitute, Marco Alfonso.
Alfonso, his 4th of the year. That's what he's in there to do, Kevin. Here's Mark. Loses a defender, Chafamba, and now opportunity forward. Mark gets it back. Cross, and the goal! What a quick strike by the Spartans to regain the lead.
So a big win for UNCG on the week. Furman held onto a draw with Davidson at 1-1, and so Furman moved to 5-3 and 4-year standings in the SoCon. UNCG and East Tennessee State both with 2-0 records, and they both have 6 points. Mercer with 2 draws has 2 points. Furman and Wofford each with a draw. They have 1 point. VMI at 0-2 and a record of 2-9-1 in the overall has no points so far. They are on a 3-game losing streak. UNCG is on a 4-game winning streak right now, and they are at the top of the table. On the women's side, when it comes to Southern Conference action, all 10 squads were in action on Friday. Mercer over Citadel by the score of 3-2. Wofford beat VMI 2-1. UTC over Western Carolina 1-0. East Tennessee and Samford had a 1-1 draw, and UNCG beat Furman by the score of 3-0. So that leads us into our standings. Chattanooga with a record of 5-0-1 in conference, 16 points total. Mercer at 3-1-3, they have 12 points. East Tennessee with 3 wins in 7 matches, they have 11. Western Carolina 3 wins in 7 matches, they have 10, 1 less draw. Samford's at 2-1-3 with 9 points. The Citadel's already played 7 matches, and they're at 3-4, no draws attached. They have 9 points as well. Wofford 2's across the board, they have 8 points. 7 points for Furman and UNCG with records of 2-3-1. VMI with a record of 0-6. They have lost 5 in a row and are at the bottom of the table with a record in the overall of 1-13-2. Men's soccer in the Sun Belt, your players of the week from a while back, Marshall's Matthew Bell and Oliver Semley led their teams to 2-1 victory over number 2 Pitt last week to get Sun Belt Men's Soccer Player of the Week honors. Matthew Bell, the freshman from Kingston, Jamaica, Semley from Am Rhein, Germany as a graduate student. So those are your players of the week from the previous week. Then you had this past week, Kentucky's Ben Damge and West Virginia's Mark Bonaire. They had your performances to give it to you, give you the offensive player of the week for week 9. And Damge, the junior from Mason, Ohio, first Kentucky player to score a hat trick in 9 years as the number 3 Wildcats beat Georgia Southern 6-0. Last time a Wildcat had 3 goals in a single match, Tyler Riggs back in 2013 against Florida Atlantic. Bonaire, the redshirt sophomore from Warrenton, Virginia, at West Virginia, made his collegiate debut on Saturday at Old Dominion, earning the 4-0 shutout victory, faced 9 shots in the night, made 1 save on his way to the clean sheet. So Damge and Bonaire, your offensive and defensive soccer players of the week. Going into women's soccer, and giving you the lay of the land there in the Sun Belt. Vanderlinden and Blom for James Madison give you Player of the Week honors there, leading the Dukes to a 1-0-1 week in conference action, top spot in the rankings with 14 points. Lexi Vanderlinden is a redshirt sophomore from Seminole, Florida. The midfielder assisted on all 3 goals in the 3-1 win over Texas State, currently number 1 in the West. Alexandra Blom from Degerfors, Sweden, the redshirt junior, totaled 8 saves in 2 matches against the top pair of teams in the West. 7 shutouts this year. 3 save performance against South Alabama as a part of that performance. And it is the second time this year that Blom has been named Defensive Player of the Week, and it is the second time this year that James Madison has had a repeat winner for Soccer Defensive Player of the Week. Remember, Brittany Munson from JMU won weeks 1 and 2. Alexandra Blom has won weeks 6 and 8. Lydia Nduka won for JMU back in week 4. You add Lexi Vanderlinden to the cause in the Sun Belt for what we're seeing right now on the men's and women's side. So when it comes to women's soccer, next time up is on Sunday. 11 a.m. in Statesboro on ESPN Plus, Coastal Carolina and Georgia Southern. Georgia State is at Arkansas State at noon. Southern Miss and South Alabama is at 1 o'clock in Mobile. Louisiana and Louisiana Monroe's at 1 o'clock in Monroe on ESPN Plus. Texas State is playing Troy at 1 o'clock on ESPN Plus as well. Then on Thursday, everyone's in action. App State's at Southern Miss at 3 in Hattiesburg. Georgia State's at James Madison at 6 on ESPN Plus. Marshall at Coastal Carolina at 6, along with Arkansas State and Old Dominion. Troy and Louisiana's at 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus, as is Georgia Southern at Monroe, and South Alabama is at Texas State at 7 o'clock. You can also catch the action from Texas State on local radio, KTSW 89.9 FM, in addition to what you're seeing on ESPN Plus. On the men's side, looking at their schedule over the next 7 days, it is activity on Saturday, 1 o'clock, Liberty and Georgia State. Kentucky and West Virginia is at 6 in Morgantown. ODU and Marshall is at 6:15 in Huntington, West Virginia. Tuesday, one match, Georgia Southern's at Stetson. That one's on YouTube, so go to Stetson's YouTube page to take a look at that one. Wednesday, 4 matches, Marshall's at Georgia State at 6 on ESPN+. West Virginia's at James Madison at 6 in Harrisburg. South Carolina's at ODU in Norfolk. Coastal Carolina's playing Lexington, and that one is also at 6 o'clock, and that gets you through the week that will be in the Sun Belt. Now, let's take you into what we're seeing in the Peach Belt, and specifically looking at coverage involving Clayton State. And Clayton State is heading toward their senior night, and that is going to be in the midweek, so we'll get into that when it comes to the schedule and all of the sports that will be. So looking at the standings on the men's side right now, Lander has 20 points with a record of 6-0-2. Flagler has 5 wins. They've played one less match than Young Harris. They're both at 17. Clayton State at 5-3-1. They have 16 points, and then there's a bit of a gap to Georgia Southwestern, who has 2 wins and 9 points. North Georgia, 1 win and 5 points. USC Aiken has no draws in their first 8, 1 win and 3 points. Current streaks, Lander right now has a 3-match win streak when it comes to all the activity that we're seeing there on the men's side when it comes to the Peach Belt. On the women's side of things, looking at the standings, let's take a peek here. Columbus State, 7 wins in their first 8 matches, 11 wins in the overall. They've got 22 points. Flagler, 6 wins and 19. North Georgia, 4 wins and 14. Georgia College is 4-2-1 with 13 points. USC Aiken 3-2-3 with 12. Lander 2 wins in 7 matches with 9 points. 3 wins in 7 matches for USC Beaufort. 3 wins in 8 matches for Young Harris. Clayton State's at 2-4-2 with 8 points. Georgia Southwestern 1-7-1 with 4. Albany State is 0-7 in conference play in the Peach Belt, and they have lost their last 10 overall. They've lost all of their matches this season. 0-6 at home, 0-4 from the away side of things. Looking at the schedule on the men's side, after what happened over the last 7 days, Georgia Southwestern, North Georgia, a 4-4 draw. Flagler and Clayton State, a 1-1 draw. Lander and Young Harris. Lander won that one 2-1. And USC Aiken beat Belmont Abbey by the score of 3-0. On Wednesday, Flagler beat USC Aiken by the score of 3-0. We'll keep an eye on Clayton State and Lander as that one was postponed to a later date from Greenwood, South Carolina. Young Harris over Georgia Southwestern by the score of 3-2. The schedule for the matches that will be in the upcoming week. North Georgia's at Flagler on Saturday at 1 o'clock. And all of these are on the Peach Belt PBC network. Southwestern's at Lander at 4. USC Aiken's at Young Harris at 5. Clayton State's at North Greenville in Tigerville, South Carolina. That one's at 7:30. One match on Monday, Georgia Southwestern, USC Aiken. That one's at 6. On Wednesday, it is senior night. It is Lander and North Georgia at 5. USC Aiken and Clayton State front end of the doubleheader is at 5. Flagler and Georgia Southwestern is in Americus at 7. That gets you through the week that will be when it comes to men's soccer. On women's soccer, looking at the schedule coming up and from the week that was, it was on Saturday the 8th, Beaufort over Young Harris 2-1. Columbus State beat Georgia College 2-0. Flagler 2-1 over Lander. USC Aiken over Georgia Southwestern 2-0. North Georgia beat Albany State in Albany 2-0. Tuesday, Albany State lost to Columbus State 15-0. Women's soccer on Wednesday, Flagler on the road beat USC Beaufort 2-0. Goalless draw, Aiken and North Georgia. Newberry and Georgia College was canceled. Clayton State wins over Georgia Southwestern 2-0. Lander, same score over Young Harris. Schedule for the matches that will be. Saturday, Clayton State at Young Harris at 1. Lander at USC Beaufort at 2. Columbus State, USC Aiken at 3. Albany State at Flagler at 4. North Georgia, Georgia College is at 5 in Milledgeville. All those once again on the Peach Belt Network. Go to peachbeltconference.org. Click and watch. Wednesday, North Georgia at Lenore-Rhine at 11 a.m. Catawba's at Columbus State at 2. Albany State's at Lander at 3. USC Aiken, Georgia College at 4. Lincoln Memorial, the Rail Splitters and Young Harris was canceled. Flagler and Nova Southeastern's at 5 in Fort Lauderdale. Anderson University is going to be playing Clayton State on the women's side. That one is at 7 o'clock. Saturday the 22nd, we'll start it off with a time TBA with Clayton State and Albany State in Albany. Oglethorpe and the SAA. Let's get into the SAA before we go and let you know what's going on there. When it comes to your standings in Division III, you have on the men's side Rhodes and Hendricks right now all at 4-0. Rhodes has 8 wins on the year. Hendricks has 7. Oglethorpe, they are right now in third at 2-1-1, 5-5-2 on their way heading into the weekend. Sewanee 2-2, Berry 2-2, Birmingham Southern at 1-2-1, Millsaps Center, they are at 0-4. On the women's side for Friday and Sunday, Berry's at 4-0 coming into the weekend. Center and Sewanee each have 3 wins. Hendricks has 2 wins, as does Rhodes. Oglethorpe's at 1-2-1. Millsaps at 0-3-1. Birmingham Southern is at 0-4. Looking at your the final weekend for everything going on here when it comes to the fall season. Berry, we mentioned them with everything on top of the standings with their 4-0 record out of the blocks. Right now, the week that was in the SAA, you had, going all the way back to Sunday the 9th, Berry 5-1 over Millsaps, Center 4-0 over Hendricks, Oglethorpe and Sewanee 1-0 winners over Birmingham Southern and Rhodes. 2-0, Sewanee and Berea was canceled. Hendricks beat Latorno in Longview, Texas by the score of 2-0. Friday, to update you, Hendricks beat Oglethorpe 1-0, same score, Rhodes over Berry. Sewanee beat Birmingham Southern 2-0, same score, Center over Millsaps. We'll update the standings coming up in just a bit. Sunday, busy day. Millsaps at Sewanee at 11, Rhodes and Oglethorpe at 12, Birmingham Southern Center at 12, Hendricks and Berry's at 2:30 from Valhalla. Tuesday, Piedmont University is at Berry. Wednesday, Rhodes is at the Mississippi College for Women, and that gets you through the week. So let's get you into the standings when it comes to women's soccer. And we mentioned how things are currently laid out when it comes to everything there on the women's side of things. So let's go to men's soccer and let you take a peek at the schedule there and what has happened over the last 7 days, including what happened last night. So Sunday, October the 9th, was a kind of a Sunday, Friday, nothing in the in-between. Berry shuts out Millsaps 7-0 in Jackson, Mississippi. Hendricks 1-0 winners over Center, same score, Rhodes over Sewanee. Oglethorpe and Birmingham Southern, a 1-1 draw. Last night, Hendricks and Oglethorpe drew 0-0. Rhodes and Berry had a 1-1 draw. Sewanee over Birmingham Southern 2-1. Center shut out Millsaps in Danville, Kentucky by the score of 11-0. Rest of the week, Sunday, we mentioned Hendricks at Berry. That one's at Valhalla at noon. Millsaps at Sewanee at 1:30. Rhodes at Oglethorpe at 2:30. Birmingham Southern and Center is at 3:30. Action on Wednesday to wrap up your week. Millsaps is at Huntingdon College in Montgomery. That one's at 5 o'clock. Birmingham Southern is at Covenant College in Lookout Mountain, Georgia. That one is at 7 o'clock. So that's your look at your action in the SAA. Let's wrap things up in the NAIA with our friends at Georgia Gwinnett College and looking at what we were seeing there. Looking at men's soccer, and we will start there with the schedule that we've seen right now GGC is at 8-1-1. Last time out, after a very, very busy week, they were at Southeastern, and Southeastern is a team that has been receiving votes in the NAIA poll. Southeastern came to the Grizzly Soccer Complex. Grizzlies won that one 4-2. Then that's back in September. What am I saying? We're in October. Let's go to October's games. Last Saturday, they were at Fisk, won that one in Nashville by the score of 8-1. Then they go to the CAC Classic, where they will be this weekend in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Viterbo, the V-Hawks, have been getting votes in the national polls, and GGC came out with a 2-1 win. We caught up with Jason Strombu after the match in the 2-1 win, courtesy of our friends at GGC Athletics.
Day one of the CAC Classic, and the Grizzlies pick up a 2-1 win over Viterbo, handing the V-Hawks their first loss of the season, and the number 8 Grizzlies improved to 8-1-1. And we're joined by our Grizzly today, and Jason Strambu, who opened the scoring late in the first half. Jason, just take me through that play late in the first half. It wasn't too long after you emerged as a sub that you were able to find the back of the net.
Yeah, I got in. Game plan was just get some crosses in. And credit to Papu. He just gave me a dime. I jumped over the center back and I just gave it a good flick on the bottom post. So it was fantastic to get the lead right as the half ends.
I mean, how much of a momentum and confidence does that give the team heading into halftime, scoring so late in the first half?
Oh, I mean, everybody was ecstatic. That feeling is nothing else. Going up 1-0 right as the half ends, it's a blessing.
And then you played majority or all of the second half, got a second goal from Diego. Viterbo gets a goal quickly right back. Take me through the closing stretches there to try to close out a win over a good Viterbo team.
Closing it out, when I saw my defender was tired at all, I tried to sprint back, even if it was 40 yards, just to cover the space. And then we had some crazy counters, got a lot of chances. Karim did well, he got a lot of chances. So we could have gotten a nice 5-6-1 win, but it's just one of those days.
2-1 win over to start this CAC Classic here in Iowa. Jason, Grizzly today, you got any shout-outs you want to give back home in the warm Georgia?
Just to the family, the friends, the girlfriend. Just thankful.
All right. Jason Strambu, Grizzly today is the Georgia Gwinnett 2-1 win over Viterbo.
Sunday, the CAC Classic wraps up for GGC with a match against Bellevue of Nebraska before having to travel back home and then going to Pineville, North Carolina. And we'll talk about their match with Shaw next week. And then looking on the women's side of things and their schedule right now, the women are 3-4-6 on the season. And they have, last time out of the blocks, they drew. Let's go over the last 7 days. And it was a draw. It was the draw at Viterbo, the goalless draw. But before that, they were in Lawrenceville at the Grizzly Soccer Complex before traveling to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Knocked off Point, the Skyhawks, by the score of 3-0. And they will finish their weekend at the CAC going up against Bellevue, who has been receiving votes in the NAIA as well. That one is at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. Then they come back and play William Carey in the midweek at the Grizzly Soccer Complex Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock before their matches with Shaw, North Carolina next weekend. That is your tour, running at about 100 miles an hour, about everything that's going on with Division I, Division II, Division III, and NAIA here in the Southeast. And so if we missed anything, let us know. Let us know what's going on in your part of the world when it comes to all of the soccer that you get to see. But it's good to keep an eye on things in the NAIA, in the SAA, in the Peach Belt, in the Sun Belt, the SoCon, the ACC, and the SEC. So for everybody here at SDH, that was your lightning tour of everything going on in college soccer. That's your college soccer showcase. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plata, y'all.